Hey guys, this is Mark Rice, co-owner of Big Poppa Corn, and we are here, well, at Big Poppa Corn. You see all the popcorn all the way around us, and I'm really excited to have a friend and a great leader of our city here with us for just a chat, a get to know you, if you will.
Yeah.
I have my friend Mayor Mike Callis.
It's good to be with you, man. I'm gonna have to buy some popcorn before I leave because it smells pretty good.
That's right. Now you got to pay rent to be in here.
That's
you know what I
right.
mean?
I can't leave here empty-handed. My wife be mad.
She'd be very upset because every time y'all go to the movies and y'all post that big bucket of movie theater popcorn, I buy popcorn while I'm down there too, so I can't blame you.
Gotta do it, and gotta do it. You eat so much of it, it's so salty, your lips is burning by the time you get done with the movie.
I'll probably hit that Coke machine 5 times during the movie, so I totally understand. But we're glad that you're here and really excited about this series that you're going to be doing. So it's we just want to get to know you. Get to know Mike Callis. And so we're just going to ask some questions and just have a good time.
Let's do it.
All right. So first off, Mike, how long have you been in Portland?
My whole life. So born and raised here. Met my wife. We've been married a little over 41 years. She was raised way out of Portland in Oak Grove.
In Oak Grove? I thought you were going to say Mitchellville.
No, she was an Oak Grove girl, and so we met. You know, we didn't even know each other in school.
Really?
Isn't that weird? So didn't even know each other in school, and she was a couple of grades ahead of me, and we actually met at where the police department is now. It used to be called the Dairy Dip.
Okay.
So I got my driver's license when I was 16 and went straight up there and see if I could get a job, and she was already working there, and that's where we met. And
at the Dairy Dip.
At the Dairy Dip, fell in love, got married.
Fell in love over soft serve ice cream.
Yeah, hey man, listen, I used to spin the records back there in the skating rink, couple skate, turn the
So
lights
you used to be
down.
a DJ.
Hey, throw them albums on there.
Okay.
Hey, listen, you know, put a little REO Speedwagon on.
Oh, come on now.
And turn the lights down.
Oh man, there you go, setting the mood.
Yeah.
I love it. So you're born and raised here in Portland. Have you ever, like, you know, I've met people here in town where they were born here, but then they moved and came back. Have you ever left? I mean, has this been home?
The only time I left was when I went to Oak Grove and lived for a little bit, and I come back. So we got a little place. Our first place was in Oak Grove on Paul Thompson Road, man, just right off 52.
Okay.
And so that's the others. We lived here our whole life and went to all the schools here.
So, man, you're homegrown.
Homegrown, man.
Never left, just except to go to Oak Grove.
And you know, I never had a desire to go nowhere.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I enjoy it here. And you know, early on, Portland's changed a lot over the years, and we were talking about this a little bit just recently. So I programmed CNC equipment for years, and to do that, you had to work outside of Portland. Mm-hmm. You know, I've worked in Nashville and Hendersonville and different places, but now, because the industry and the jobs that we have here, I could do that today here in town, and didn't have those options. Back in the day, you had maybe True Temper, Long Light, or Stevenson Ham, and I cut a little ham at Stevenson Ham for a little while as a young man out of school. Welded some lawn furniture at Long Light, and done a few things like that, and then went off into machining and tool and die and programming and all that. Did that for many years. So,
very nice. Yeah. I didn't realize you had such an extensive background in that area. I was like, being the mayor, I think.
Well, you know, you got to pay the bills.
Got to pay the bills,
way.
That's
so
right.
You know how it is.
Yeah. So being born and raised here, you met your wife here, and raised your family here. So tell us about your family. You got children, grandchildren?
Yeah. So we've got one son, and they've got 3 children, and so they live here locally. And our oldest grandson is in his 2nd year of college.
Oh wow!
So he's in Berry College down in Georgia. So he just got back to college this week for the next year. Our granddaughter just graduated high school last year, and our youngest grandson is a junior here in Portland High School.
Okay.
So yeah, we're old people.
Oh yeah, you are, man.
Old people.
Old people. That's what happens, man. Time is yet a vapor.
That's
as
right.
the Bible says.
But it's a blessing. You know, my parents have lived in the same house there on South 109 here in town for over 50 years.
Yeah.
I'm still blessed to have them. Right now, my dad's 84, my mom's 85, and they're still kicking. And so it's good.
That's awesome, man. I love it. So as people get to know you, it doesn't take long to know that you're a man of faith.
Yeah.
Right? If they stick around you for 5 minutes, I feel like they're going to hear a Bible verse. There's going to be some wisdom. So there's no question that Mike Callis, you're a man of faith. Tell us how you came to the Lord.
Okay.
Tell your journey into your walk with Christ.
I love to share that story.
Now remember, this isn't a sermon now. Not a sermon.
We get to the end though, we're going to ask for an offering.
We got that Hands of Hope
That's
tip
right.
jar up
We
there.
have to do that, pay that out. So I never went to church. wasn't raised in church. Family didn't go to church. I had a grandmother that went to church here locally, but in my home they didn't, and I didn't know anything really about church. I didn't know anything really about Jesus. And I was 37 before I walked into a church. 37 years old, and of course by that time, Diane and I had done. I was 16 we got married, and so by that time we'd been married several years. And it's kind of a funny situation. I was working at a place in Hendersonville programming, and had a co-worker. Him and I kind of were close to one another and worked kind of close together in that little situation. And you know how it is, you come into work next morning, hey, you do anything last night, how'd your evening go, that kind of situation. And he said, yeah, I didn't do much. Hey, I was watching Discovery Channel and something about Noah's Ark, and I went, hey, I've seen that. We were both sitting there both talking about it, and we had watched the same documentary that night. And we just kind of talked about it for a few minutes, and I said, man, you know what? I think I've got a Bible at the house.
Wow. I think I've got a Bible.
I think I've got a Bible at the house. And I went and searched for it, and I brought it into work because me and him were talking we're like, I wonder how close, accurate a documentary is to the Bible. Neither one of us had much knowledge. And my wife had been given a Bible when she was in Sunday school by a Sunday school teacher when she was little, and she'd kept that Bible. I'd seen it, and I brought it in, and we had found the story of Noah's Ark there in Genesis 6, 7, and 8, and so we read it that day, and we kind of had a big laugh. We're like, why didn't they just follow the Bible when they
the documentary
when they did the TV show, right?
The script was laid out.
Yeah, it was laid out. Why didn't you follow that? And we thought it was kind of funny, and so I just closed that Bible and I just set it there and didn't even think about it for months and months. And then one day, and sometimes some of the equipment and the parts that we manufacture, they were pretty massive. And some of these programs that you would go, they would run for 10, 12 hours at a time. And so I'd program it, and you'd set everything up, and it would run for a long time. And so I was hanging out one day and kind of a little bored about what was going on, tired of looking at hot rod magazines.
Yeah.
Show you how old I am. I was tired of listening to G. Gordon Liddy on the radio.
Oh,
so
my
he used to
God.
have the talk shows this many years ago. And I decided to open up that Bible. And I got to reading a little bit of it, and I couldn't put it down. And every day I started looking at it and reading it. And for a year, I was reading my way in the Bible, and more I was becoming. I didn't really understand conviction, right?
Yeah.
But I was getting convicted. There was a couple things I realized, Mark. One, I realized I'm not a Christian. Really not much of a husband. Not much of a father, not much of a friend, according to the scriptures that I was reading in the Bible. And I tell you where I got hung up was Romans chapter 7 and Romans chapter 8. And I seen Romans chapter 7 as a chapter of defeat, and I seen Romans chapter 8 as a chapter of victory. And I'm reading, this guy's writing this book, and it seems like he's struggling with some of the same stuff. Like, I know I'm supposed to be doing right, but I just can't figure out how to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And man, it was all over me, and I didn't know what to do. And I remember going home to Diane. I said, you want to go to church? And you thought, man, I'd hit her with two before. She looked at me like, are you serious?
Who's this man?
Yeah,
Who's this guy?
Who's this guy? And I said, yeah, I am. And we end up calling her sister. Her sister was faithful in the church and doing bus ministry and praying for her heathen brother-in-law, you know, hope he'll come to the Lord, you know, and all that good stuff. And so the third Sunday, we were there, and we went to this little church called Portland First Free Will Baptist there on Westmoreland Road, right here in town. Third Sunday there was a pastor at that time. He's passed on now, Brother Shockey. And he was preaching a message on heaven and hell on that third Sunday. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And he said, hey, you know, you need this. You don't know it. And that church, it was packed out that day. And I didn't have a clue. All I know is that here's this man who was preaching something that was lining up with what I've been reading for a year. And he said, if you want something different, you come. And you come now. Come on up front. And I bailed out of the pew I was sitting in and was heading down the aisle, and I didn't know it, but my wife had got up and had walked out the other way, and we met at the altar.
Wow.
And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have no church experience, really. And so there's this altar bench. You've seen them in the church. Well, I didn't know if I was supposed to
stand on it, kneel at it.
Kneel on it. And I thought, man, it's awful high. I was trying to figure out what I needed to do, and I looked, and my wife had slipped down to the floor. There was this elderly couple that was in church there that came up and met us at the altar. She's passed on, but Brother Ken Stevens is still with us, and he'd been in ministry for over 50 years. He became a mentor. We became great friends, still are. And they met us there, man, and they prayed with us, and they talked with us. And, you know, I was brought up to not cry, not show public emotion. Yeah. And man, that day at that altar, I boo-hooed in front of all these people I didn't even know. And man, it was great. So Diane and I, we just settled it between us and the Lord that day. We got baptized together. We were in the baptistry together.
Wow.
We started serving immediately, the youth together. They just threw us right in the fire.
Right in the fire,
like, come on, you need to do children's church.
And that's it.
And it's been great. We've been serving with each other ever since. So not long after being saved, I hadn't been saved just for a few months. Mm-hmm. And I felt the call that I needed to maybe preach. I thought, man, this is crazy. I thought I was listening to too much preaching.
Yeah.
We were hitting every revival we could find.
Just hungry.
Watching on the TV, reading my Bible, and I remember going talking to Brother Ken Stevens, and I said, I hadn't even told anybody. I didn't tell Diane or anything. I went and told him. I said, me and him were out visiting one night. I said, man, I got this feeling that I'm supposed to go preach. And I'm supposed to go preach in the jail system. And so we had talk and prayer about it. And he said, you need to tell Diane. And so one Sunday after church, we get home, and I said, she knew something was on me, and I couldn't shake it, you know. And I said, I think the Lord's calling me to preach. And I just kind of waited. I thought, man, she's fixing to go, are you nuts?
Yeah.
Right?
Are you sure?
And she said, okay, what do we do next? And man, when she said that, it was that similar feeling like we were at the altar that day. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And just lifted it. And so I said, I don't know how to do this. I got a hold of Sumner County Jail, and I ended up doing jail ministry for 3 years.
That's awesome.
Going down there, and I was able to make some friends, minister to some guys. Some of them get out and come to church. We followed some to prisons.
Yeah. So
they were in there for different reasons, and they would get transferred out to prisons, and we followed them around, do some of that, and it's good stuff, man.
Man, that's incredible, because, like, you know, when I met you guys, really back in 2019 when I started my business, you know, meeting you and meeting Diane, and see how you guys are with each other. Like, you would think y'all have had the most blissful marriage from day one.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to hear your story.
Yeah.
That, like, just because you have a rough start doesn't mean you have to have a rough ending.
That's right.
And when you put Jesus in the middle of it all, he can heal anything, any problems between the marriage, any hurts, any brokenness. And now to see how y'all are just hand in hand, just like, you know, serving the community, loving each other, and like how you know, just how it's just amazing how we see that.
Man, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, she truly is. I really grew up in a dysfunctional home. Didn't really have example of what it meant to be a man, let alone really a godly man by any stretch of the imagination. And like I say, I was 16, we got married.
16?
16.
Lord.
Dumb as a box of rocks, and still not much brighter today. And so, I've said it more than once. If I had been Diane, I'd have took my junk and thrown it out in the street, brother.
Yeah.
Because hard-headed, selfish. But like I say, I didn't have a good example to go by on some of those things. But Diane is a patient, loving, kind individual. And I'm more hard. I need more compassion. I need more patience. And she really just benefits me beyond understanding, to know the truth. So she's wonderful. But whatever we've tackled, we've tried to tackle it together.
Yeah.
I mean, much like what y'all doing here, man.
We're a
Here
team.
you are, you're a team.
Team.
You're building a business. You're doing great things here. I remember the first time I met you, we were at the farmer's market.
Yep.
You had that kettle out there, making some popcorn, and it's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
That's 5 years ago.
Just 5 years. Look where the Lord's brought us. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So, with your faith and coming to Christ, and hearing about all the jobs you had, what in the world brought you into the political scene? And where was that thing where you went, I want to get involved?
That was it. And man, I'm just serving in church, in ministry, preaching, and I just had a thought, hey, I've lived here my whole life. I just like to know more and be involved. And I actually ran for office for city council in 2003. Didn't have a clue, didn't even know how it worked. I was just going to city meetings, kind of watching it. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go through the process. I've always enjoyed politics since a young kid. I enjoyed watching it and paying attention.
But listen to G. Gordon Liddy. I mean, every
you got
day.
to,
I mean,
you got
my
to,
God.
you got to. And I actually had a blessing one time on Reagan's first term, and I believe it's been his first term. He come in 80 right after Jimmy Carter, and I was in FFA. And this shows you how much different life is today from what it was. So I got to call in the vote totals, I guess from Clyde Riggs School. I got to take the vote totals they hand wrote on a piece of paper.
Oh my God!
And walk to my house, my parents' house, and call the number in Washington and the totals in. I thought, here I'm just a kid walking down the street with a piece of paper, man. And I sure hope that's not like the certified numbers, how that works.
Yeah.
But that was a fun little thing, and I've always enjoyed it. So I ran for office 2003, and I said, man, I don't have a shot at this because I didn't know what I was doing. I stood on the street corner, and when I'd get off work, and had a little sign said vote Mike Callis, and for me it was just how did the process work. And I lost. I thought, man, I'm going to lose by hundreds of votes. I think I lost by like 9, 10, or 12 votes, and I went,
I got a chance.
Man, are you kidding me? I thought if I just went and knocked on a couple more houses, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I decided to run again in 05, and I was just praying about it, and I felt like, okay, if you win, serve a term and just walk away. Because we were busy doing other things. We were starting Liberty Church and doing a lot, and so I got elected in 05, and back in those days, the elections were in May, and you would get sworn in, and right out of the gate, man, your first meeting was in June, and you're doing a budget, and I thought, man, this is the craziest thing. So you're brand new,
have no idea what you're doing.
You don't have a clue, and I said, well, you got to do something different here because this didn't make any sense because you didn't know what was happening. And so I got done with that first 4 years, and I walked away, and everybody was like, you're not running again? I'm like, I only felt like I was supposed to serve 4 years, and so I stepped away, and probably about a year and a half. So we have an election every 2 years, right? Because we have a split council, 4 seats or 3 seats, and about a year and a half later, and what was funny, I was still going to meetings,
Still being involved.
they were still sending me a packet. I was still getting a packet, and so I was still up to date on everything, and I felt like maybe I ought to do this again, and so I ran again, and got elected vice mayor a couple of terms and just really involved. I was chairing a lot of, back in those days, we did committees.
Yeah.
And was chairing about everything. I was meeting multiple times during the week, but I really thought each time, it's got to be it, Lord.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I said, Lord, this is it, right? I mean, you don't want me to keep doing this. And then when the thoughts came about mayor, I went, no, this don't make any sense, I mean, our plate was full already with stuff, but so far the Lord's been kind. So.
Yeah. So how many terms as city council did you actually?
Well, let's see. I did a 1, then I come back in 11, and I stayed in that until I became mayor in 18.
You became mayor in 18.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, did you think that you would want to stay in the position as mayor this long?
Yeah, I had, so when I served the first term, and it was the same process. At the end of each term, it was kind of like, we're praying like, Lord,
yeah, what do you want us to do?
What do you want to do? And, we get leading that we think so, then we would do it again. And so, I've been asked a whole bunch, in the last, probably this year especially, hey, you running again? I'm like, I don't know. I hadn't really spent a lot of time thinking about it. This term ends in 26. Council adopted term limits in the charter in 20.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't hold anybody's past against them, so it just starts from that point going forward. So, I mean, I could serve, technically, I could serve 2 more terms in that. They broke it down. You could serve 3 consecutive or 5 lifetime. You just have to take a break.
Gotcha.
In there, and that's for council in there. But I got to thinking, at the end of this term, I mean, I'll be a little over 60 years old,
Yeah.
And I still have a yearning, and so I still preach and teach.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy that, but I just have a yearning to do that and whatever the Lord wants me to do. And I really see, and I know not everybody likes it when I say this, but I see serving on the council or mayor, I see it as ministry. I see it anytime you can work with people, help people, I think you're ministering to people. That's the way I look at it. Because you do a lot of ministry. I mean, you have a popcorn business, but it gives you an opportunity to talk to so many folks about the Lord and to encourage folks along the way, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's how my wife and I, that's how we view our business.
Yeah.
It is our ministry. Popcorn is just an avenue. It's just a tool that gives us a platform.
That's right.
And we take that very seriously.
Absolutely.
To be able to give back to our community.
There's a lot of folks who purposely go coach ball teams.
Yeah.
Right? The whole purpose of that is to share Christ and to be kind and encourage and mentor. I mean,
people help people be better.
Yeah, and I think, as a Christian, that's what we're all being called to.
Absolutely.
To be.
So speaking of our faith and then you being the mayor, how does your faith play in your role as mayor? How does that work together?
For me, I'm probably the biggest thing I ask for me personally on a regular basis is wisdom and discernment.
Yeah.
And I go back to I go back when I'm looking in the Bible and I'm thinking about Solomon's trying to figure out, Lord, what you want me to do what now? And he says, wisdom's what I need. To go in and out before the people, I'm needing wisdom.
Yeah.
Help me lead, and that's what I tried to ask for, and I utilize that to guide it. And I also utilize it, and I don't hide my personal convictions. And many times when I've ran for office, I've made it clear, listen, I'm a Christian, and I don't hide my Christianity. I can't. That's I am a Christian. That's who I am. It's not what I do. It's who I am.
Right.
So I can't hide that, and I tell folks, listen, if that is troublesome to you, because it's going to come out in everything that I touch and what I say and all that, if that's troublesome, then don't vote for me, because I just want to be straight with you. I don't want you to be surprised.
Right.
So, yeah. So it has to inform everything I do. I mean, I start my day with scripture and coffee.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I like to do. I like to get some Bible study in as much as I can, And during the week, this particular job, can be difficult with constraints on personal time, because really, as mayor, there's not a lot of personal time. My wife understands that, and is a great partner. She goes with me to
Everything, practically.
about everything, man. Just like y'all do. You and your
Yeah.
wife, you're together. And
We're a tag team, that's what we say.
you have to, and she understands. I mean, we're in the middle of things. We know that we're ministering holistically to a community. That's the way we approach it.
Yeah.
And so we give of ourselves, whether it's church, and I told you, we get saved, we get hooked up with the Lord, and they just throw us right in the mix, man, with children's church and children's ministry. I feel like we've come full circle, and we're serving out at Byram's Chapel, and there was an opening here recently, just a few months ago, and said, hey, we're looking for somebody to step in and work with the youth, and anytime there's like service opportunities for me, it's like it's hard to say no, you know how it is. And I told Diane, I said, well, what do you think about us jumping back into some youth ministry, right? And she was like, okay, we'll see, so it's been good. It's been a while since we were like, in youth ministry, and but like Wednesday night, so as first day of school for Sumner County students, the day before was for Robertson County students. We've got a mixture out there, so we've got kids, Franklin, Kentucky, Robertson County Schools, Sumner County Schools, just because of the location of the church, right? And so I knew Wednesday night, man, they were going to be fired up, because it's new. They go to classes or new buildings and all this stuff, and so we just spent the evening Wednesday night, and we all always gather in a big circle and kind of talk about life and some other things. And I said, we just want to hear from y'all today. Why don't you just tell us,
How was your day?
how was your day today, man? They were wide open, but it's fun to watch them. You learn a lot when you're involved with the kids. Like I say, we haven't had young kids in the home in a while. Like I say, our grandchildren are moving on, right?
Yeah.
And so you learn a lot about life and where culture is.
Right. I was going to say, you're going to find out what's the culture right now for these young.
And I had to tell them, I said, listen, y'all gonna help me out. I don't understand the slang you're using.
Yeah. They have to get you like a translation
I
book.
A chart cheat sheet. Though.
Yeah, it's funny. We're like at church too. I'm like, all right, so teach me some of the new words.
Yeah. Because I'm sure it's no different than it was when I was growing up. You had a certain vocabulary that.
And our parents are like, what are you saying?
Saying?
What
Right.
are you talking
That's
about?
Right. That's right.
So being serving as mayor, what would you say? That's gonna be our food delivery truck.
Come on, tell them, come on in.
I'm gonna go
And
up
knock
the
on
door quick.